When I told my family I was marrying James, they said I was throwing my life away. He was not good enough for our family, they said. He had nothing. No prestigious education. No family money. No connections. My father said if I married him, I would be disowned. I married him anyway. 1 year later, my husband became a self-made millionaire and my family came crawling back. My name is Victoria and I am 31 years old. I come from significant wealth. My family owns multiple businesses: textile manufacturing, real estate development, financial investments. My father is 65, my mother is 62. They are influential people in our social circles, charity boards, country clubs, the kind of people who expect their children to marry people of equal standing. I have an older brother named Charles who is 33. He married a woman from another wealthy family, Margaret. They have everything in common: prestigious backgrounds, Ivy League educations, similar net worth. My parents were thrilled. Charles and Margaret are the golden couple in my family. They do everything right. They follow all the rules. I was supposed to follow the rules too. I was raised with certain expectations. I went to the best schools. I was taught proper etiquette. I learned about wine and art and classical music. I was groomed to marry someone from our world, someone who understood our lifestyle, someone who would maintain our family status. But I met James when I was 24. It was at a charity event in the city. I was volunteering. James was working for the catering company. He was 26 at the time. Handsome, funny, charming. We started talking, and I was immediately drawn to him. He did not know who I was. He did not know my family name or my family money. He just saw me as a person, and I saw him as a person too. Not as a status symbol, not as a means to maintain family expectations, just as someone I was genuinely attracted to. We started dating secretly. I knew my family would disapprove, so I kept it quiet. James was wonderful. He was hardworking. He had dreams of starting his own business. He was ambitious and driven. He wanted to build something meaningful. For 2 years, we dated in secret. He worked his way up at the catering company, started planning to open his own restaurant, was saving every penny, was taking business classes at night, was putting in the work to build something real, and I fell in love with him. Completely and totally. When I was 26, I told James I wanted him to meet my family. I wanted to be open about our relationship. I was tired of hiding. He was nervous. He knew about the wealth disparity. He knew my family would judge him for his background. But he said, if this is where you want to go, then I am ready. So I told my family I was dating someone and wanted them to meet him. My mother was the first to ask questions. Who is he? What does he do? What family is he from? When I told her he worked in the restaurant industry and came from a working-class background, her expression changed. She looked disappointed. She said I must have made a mistake, that I must have confused him with someone else, that I could not possibly be serious about someone like that. But I was serious. I told my parents I wanted to bring James to Sunday dinner so they could meet him properly. My father said absolutely not. My mother said we would discuss this later. My brother Charles said nothing, but his expression made it clear he thought I was being ridiculous. That Sunday, James came to dinner at my parents' house. He was nervous. He wore his best suit. He brought wine and flowers. He was polite and charming and genuine, and my family was horrible to him. My father asked him pointed questions about his education. When James said he had a business degree from a state school, my father actually laughed. A state school? Like, that was funny. My mother asked what his family did. When he said his father had worked in construction and his mother had been a teacher, she looked at me with this expression of pity. Charles barely spoke to him, and when he did, it was condescending, asking how the restaurant business was treating him, like he was curious about his little side gig, not his real career. By the end of dinner, it was clear my family saw James as beneath them. A nice enough boy, but fundamentally unsuitable. After dinner, my father called me into his office. You cannot be serious about this person, he said. He is a child playing at entrepreneurship. He has no real prospects, no family connections, nothing to offer you. You are throwing away your entire future. But I love him, I said. Love is not enough, he replied. Love does not pay bills. Love does not secure your legacy. Love does not maintain our family reputation. I do not care about the family reputation, I said. Then you are a fool, he said. A foolish girl who is about to ruin her life. My mother tried a different approach. She took me to lunch and tried to reason with me. She talked about compromise, about how I could date James casually but should also be open to meeting appropriate suitors, wealthy men from good families, men who would fit into our world. I told her no. I told her I wanted to marry James. She cried. She said I was breaking her heart, that my father would never accept this, that I was destroying everything. My father gave me an ultimatum. Either end the relationship with James or be disowned. He said it clearly. No wedding, no inheritance, no trust fund, no family connection. If I married James, I would be out. I thought about it. I thought about what I was giving up. A substantial trust fund, a family business I could have worked in, social connections, financial security. And I chose James. I told my father I was marrying James. He said if I did, I would no longer be his daughter. My mother begged me to reconsider. Charles told me I was being stupid and selfish, but I married James anyway. The wedding was small, just a few friends. James' family who welcomed me with open arms. His parents cried happy tears. His siblings were thrilled. They embraced me as part of their family in a way my own family had rejected James. My family did not attend. My father sent a letter stating that by marrying James, I had violated the family honor and would receive no further financial support. My mother called twice asking me to reconsider, but when I would not, she eventually stopped calling. For 2 years, I heard almost nothing from my family. Charles reached out once to ask if I was okay, but when I told him I was happy with James and not interested in reconciliation, he did not reach out again. Those 2 years were hard, not emotionally. James and I were happy. We were building something real together. But financially, it was a struggle. We moved into a small apartment in the city. James was still working at the catering company while trying to get his restaurant off the ground. I was working as a nonprofit coordinator making a modest salary. We were living paycheck to paycheck. James worked constantly, 50-hour weeks at the catering company. Then he would come home and work on his business plan. He studied financial projections. He researched locations. He learned everything he could about running a restaurant. I watched him grind. I watched him sacrifice. I watched him put in the work that nobody sees, and I never regretted choosing him. Then something shifted. James finally saved enough money to open his first restaurant, a small casual place in an up-and-coming neighborhood. He called it James' Kitchen. He put everything into it, his life savings, his time, his energy, his passion, and it was successful. Within 6 months, the restaurant was getting great reviews. People were lining up to eat there. James was making real money for the first time in his life. He opened a second location, then a third. By the end of the second year after we got married, James had 3 successful restaurants. He was being written about in food magazines. He was being interviewed on local news about his success. People were asking him about franchising opportunities, and he was not even 30 yet. I watched my husband build an empire from nothing, and I was so proud of him. This man my family had called a nobody. This man they had said had no future. He had created a future that most people only dream about. James was now making more money than my father, more than my brother, more than most of our family friends. And that is when my family started reaching out. It was my mother first. She called me on a Tuesday afternoon. She said she had been thinking about me, that she missed me, that she wanted to see me again. I was wary. I asked her why now? Why after 2 years of silence? She hesitated. Then she said she had been following James' success. She had seen the articles. She knew the restaurants were doing well. She wanted to reconnect. Not because she missed me, but because my husband was now successful. I told her I needed time to think about it. James was more forgiving than I was. When I told him my mother had called, he said we should meet with her. He said that family was important and that maybe she was genuinely trying to make amends. I was not so sure. But I agreed to have lunch with my mother. She was warm and welcoming. She told me how much she missed me, how proud she was of how I had built my life, how wonderful James was, and how she was sorry she had misjudged him. But I could see through it. She was buttering me up, building a relationship now that we had money, now that James was successful. I told her I needed her to be honest about something. I asked her if she would have been reaching out if James' restaurants had failed, if he was still working at the catering company making a modest salary. Would she be wanting to reconnect then? She did not answer immediately. Finally, she said she did not know, that she had been wrong about James, that she was trying to fix things, but we both knew the truth. She wanted to be part of our lives because we were now important, because James' success reflected well on the family, because she wanted to brag about my millionaire husband to her friends. My father also reached out. He wanted to meet James, to welcome him to the family, to talk about business opportunities. James was interested in meeting my father. He said that he wanted to understand where I came from, that he wanted to bridge the gap. They met for lunch. James told me afterward that my father had spent most of the time asking about James' business model, about expansion plans, about potential for franchising or going public. My father wanted to be involved. He wanted to invest. He saw dollar signs and opportunity. James was not interested. He had built his restaurants from nothing, and he wanted to keep them that way. He did not want investors. He did not want family involvement. He wanted to maintain creative control and keep the business exactly the way he envisioned it. My father was shocked. He was used to people wanting his money, wanting his connections, wanting his influence. But James did not need any of that. He had already succeeded without it. My brother Charles reached out too. He wanted to take James to lunch, to discuss business ventures, to see if they could work together. James agreed, but he was clear that he was not looking for partners or investors. Charles seemed disappointed that James did not need anything from him. My family tried to build a relationship with us, but it always felt transactional. They wanted James' business advice. They wanted to invest in his restaurants. They wanted the prestige of being connected to his success. They did not want me. They did not actually care about my happiness or my life. They only cared about what James had accomplished. For me, that made it easier to maintain distance. James wanted to include them. He is a good man with a good heart. He did not hold grudges. He was willing to move past the rejection. But I made it clear that my family would never be a real part of our lives, that I had moved on, that I no longer needed their approval or their connection. It has been 5 years now since James started his first restaurant. He has 12 locations now across 3 states. He is worth tens of millions of dollars. He is a legitimate success story, from nothing to self-made millionaire in 5 years. And my family tries constantly to be part of our lives. My mother sends me invitations to charity events. She wants me to come with James. She wants to show him off. She wants everyone to see that her daughter married a successful man. My father has tried multiple times to involve James in business deals, to leverage his success for family benefit. My brother invited us to spend Thanksgiving with the family. When we declined, he seemed genuinely hurt. But here is the thing. I do not actually want them in our lives. The hurt from their rejection has not completely healed. I remember how they treated James. I remember how they judged him. I remember how they made me choose. James does not hold it against them. But I do. My therapist says that forgiveness is a process, that I do not have to have them in my life to forgive them, that I can acknowledge what they did wrong and still choose to keep my distance. So that is what I have done. James and I are happy. We are building an incredible life together. We travel. We donated to charity. We bought a beautiful house. We are thinking about having kids soon. And we did it all without my family, without their money, without their connections, without their approval. If anything, this whole experience taught me that their approval meant nothing, that what matters is your own character, your own work ethic, your own determination. James succeeded not because he came from money, not because he had family connections, but because he worked harder than everyone else, because he believed in himself, because he refused to let other people define his worth. My family tried to tell him he was not good enough. He showed them they were wrong. And now they want to claim credit for his success. They want to be associated with him. They want to bask in his achievement. But they did not believe in him. They did not support him. They actively tried to keep him away from me. So no, I do not want them back in my life. I have a new family now, James' family. They were there from the beginning. They supported our relationship. They embraced me. They believed in James even when he was struggling. They deserve to be celebrated and loved. My family of origin gets to watch from a distance. They get to read the articles about James' success. They get to see the photos on social media of our amazing life, but they do not get to be part of it. That is the consequence of their choices. My name is Victoria. I am 31 years old. My family disowned me for marrying a man they called a nobody. I chose love over approval. That man is now a self-made millionaire. And I have never been happier. The lesson here is not that vindication matters, not that success proves people wrong. The real lesson is that you have to choose yourself. You have to believe in your choices. You have to be willing to walk away from people who do not support you, even if those people are family. My family wanted to control my life. They wanted me to marry someone appropriate, someone who fit into their world, someone who would maintain their status. But I wanted to marry someone I loved. Someone who saw me as a person, not as a status symbol. Someone who would build a life with me based on authentic connection, not family obligation. I made the right choice. And even though I do not have a relationship with my family of origin, I do not regret it, because I have something more valuable than their approval. I have a partnership built on real love. I have respect for the man I married. I have the knowledge that we succeeded because of our own character and work ethic, not because of who we knew or what we had. To anyone out there who feels pressure from family to make different choices, to anyone who is told they are throwing their life away for love, to anyone who is facing rejection for pursuing what they truly want, do not listen to them. Trust yourself. Trust your judgment. Trust your heart. The people who truly love you will support you. The people who are worth keeping in your life will believe in you. Everyone else is just noise. My family is noise. And I am living my best life without them.